Thanks everyone for coming back. Let me get back to it. All right, so we're talking about roles and responsibilities. So the first thing I said was installation and configuration of the first one, and I was talking about um, design and architecture being the next thing. So just basically taking concepts from logic, what the business wants. The business wants to launch an app. The data architect is saying, hey, these are the requirements that you need, right? Able to take these requirements, like I said, you give your ideas, your thoughts, and then somebody comes up with, the architect comes up with a design that says, this is how this is going to happen. This is how this building comes to life. It's the same thing, right? The businesses have what they want to implement. The data architect comes in and says, this is what it will take. This is how for this application you want to launch to work, this is how many databases will require. This is how the tables need to talk to themselves. This is how the front end will connect to the back end and talk to the data, right? All of those things fall under the architecture realm. So like I said, it's not necessarily a skill. It's a skill, but it's not something you go learn. It's something you become over time by doing this, by understanding the infrastructure and architecture of the database systems themselves. So the next responsibility moving on is security. This one is super important because we serve as gatekeepers to business critical data. That is every database administrator, right? When data is like who has access to information is a key part of what we do. Data can be compromised on our watch. It can be on my watch where data is compromised. Data loss is something we don't, it's like a no-no for us that we're not supposed to allow. Okay, so people think of security, the first thing coming to their mind is the more complicated stuff, right? You're thinking hackers, malicious users trying to connect, steal our information. And those count. But a bigger threat to security for most of the time are the legitimate users, are the ones who already have access. It's the ones who have access and going in to do what they should not be doing, right? Who have access to information. So our job is to manage permissions and access and levels of access, right? There's something we call role-based permissions or role-based privileges. It's giving you just enough to do what your job requires, right? If your job is to run reports, then my job as the database administrator is to ensure that that's all you are able to do when you connect to that database. If your job is to run backups, then my job as the DBA is to ensure that you have just enough access to do backups when it's time for you to run your backups, right? So security is about managing access, managing permissions, preventing unauthorized access, and all of that. So there's different attacks that, the company, people are always trying to steal company data, right? And so part of what we do is protecting. Now, there's a larger conversation around security. That's why we have the cyber security folks, when we start doing policy and different things like that. But that's a bigger conversation. But within the scope of the database administrator's job, is is managing, it's policy, but around internal use, right? It's ensuring that, hey, people have just enough access to do what they need to do, right? If your job requires something, then I'm giving you access to do just that. No more, no less. All right. Now, the next part. The next aspect of this is within securities, again, giving people access and permissions and assignments. Next one is backup and recovery. So there's a concept, I don't know how many people are familiar with, disaster recovery, right? That just means readiness in case something goes wrong. What is disasters are bound to happen, right? Accidents happen, it's normal. That's why it's called an accident. It's unplanned, and it happens. And then when it happens, how are we? My customers are not thinking about when you use banks, you use Walmart, you shop on Amazon. When you go online to shop, you're not thinking about if their data was compromised. You don't want to hear that your bank, their servers crashed or some big thing happened. My money is here and I need to do Zelle transfer because I need to send money to somebody. That's the mindset of the customer. right? So how do we ensure that we can meet those obligations, right? Disasters are inevitable, even if it's just shutting down your computer or the server that's hosting this, hosting your database infrastructure. That's still an outage that's going to impact customers. How do we ensure that we can still keep serving our clients even when those disasters occur? How do we come back from a disaster? Right? It's the same reason why you have insurance for your vehicle. That's why we have some disaster recovery solutions in place. A key part of our disaster recovery plan when it comes to database administration is backups, right? Backups meaning just you're making a copy of your data and then storing them offsite somewhere where it's safe, right? That's the whole idea behind a backup. It's okay, this is what I'm trying to do. I want to make a copy of my data and it's your phone, right? It's backed up to the cloud if you use an iPhone. That's the one I'm familiar with. I'm not familiar with any other phones apart from BlackBerry from 1,000 years ago. So you back up, your iPhone does its backup and it goes to iCloud. And so even if your phone is lost, somebody steals your phone or it's destroyed physically, once you get a new phone, you can continue from where you stopped because all of your data is safely backed up to the cloud. All of your messages, all of your pictures, your everything, right? And that's the whole concept of a backup. It's the same concept for us as well within the database space. It's making a copy of our data, our databases, and it's put somewhere safe in the event of a disaster, we can safely come back and still tell our customers, listen, we're sorry about the outage, but your information is safe and we can still continue to process and serve your needs. So backups, in fact, this is one of the most critical skills a database administrator needs to have or be able to navigate because that's how we have our peace of mind. I know that no matter what happens, if all else fails, I can revert back to how things were because I have backups in place. All right. The next responsibility of a database administrator is monitoring and monitoring, performance tuning, and optimization. So I'll start with monitoring. What's happening? Right. We need to be able to answer that question. What is happening? What happened? Right, and anticipate what will happen. So those are the 3 tiers of monitoring. And whenever I explain that to my students, it's always funny when I say that, but it's what's happening, like what happened if there's an event happened that took us offline. What happened? What led to that? What event occurred that led to this outage? Right? What's happening now? Somebody's saying, hey, we're noticing we're noticing this, or things are taking too long. Customers can access the information. I used to work for an auto insurance company one time, and then we'll get all of this requests from customers. We never really interface directly with the customers, the customer service group, but they will send in all of this, requests like, hey, customers are complaining, blah, blah, blah. And it's all of that is, we need to be able to say, okay, hey, customers can't see what's going on, right? And we will go until there's a performance issue here. It's slow, it's blah, blah, blah. How can you check and know what's going on when people start complaining that stuff is going on or, things are not going as fast and stuff like that. So that's a critical part. In fact, that's a big part of your day-to-day is monitoring. A lot of the time, that's what most people sit down and do all day. Is you're keeping an eye on monitoring tools and you're monitoring platforms and looking at dashboards, and you're trying to make sure that there's no anomalies, there's nothing out of the ordinary going on, right? That's a big part of what we're doing. It's just keeping an eye on things. Just let's monitor these things. Let's make sure that it is nothing crazy is happening. That's and then if there's things, we have your benchmarks. So I know that, hey, if this goes to this level, then that's a problem. Let me go look into it and investigate and resolve this issue. If we run out of space or space is hitting this particular number, I don't want it to get to a place where it's bad. I want to catch it before. And that's where we talk about the next phase of what will happen. You're proactively catching, you're monitoring trends and looking at, hey, based on the pace at which this database is growing, we need to get more space. We need to get more storage for our servers. If not, we'll be in trouble. That's me proactively, looking at trends and saying, projecting and saying, hey, I better solve this thing before it becomes a problem. It's looking at the way our utilization is growing. So I used to work with a company that did prepaid solutions. How many of my companies have I told you now? My past employers. So I used to work with prepaid services company. So we did gift cards, and it was gift cards, all of this, especially gift cards mainly. Well, when people give gifts the most? Holidays, and from that November, Thanksgiving through Christmas, that was our busiest season because that's when the gift card market was, spiked. And so all year, we spent majority of the year studying trends from last year and looking at how our servers held up. How did, during our peaks, during Black Friday, during, the day before Christmas, what were the highest points, right? And how did we hold up? Now we look at 2 years ago, what was it like? Okay, last year we did 10,000 transactions per second at the peak of traffic. And then 2 years ago, it was this amount. So we're looking at the trends. Okay, it's grown by 2,000 transactions per second over the last 5 years. So I'm expecting to grow by another 2,000 per second, 2,000 transactions per second this year. Well, do we have the capacity? Well, we're at 90% last year. That means, hey, we better do something. If not, we'll be in trouble this year when that time comes. Right? So that is you doing trend analysis. That's you projecting, monitoring proactively and making that call to avoid running into trouble in the future. Right? So monitoring is a big part of what we do. Now, then we talk about performance tuning. When you're tuning something, that means you're making small adjustments to improve something, right? Remember back in the day, for folks that grew up in Nigeria like myself, we used to have, before the advent of, even then it was big dish and then cable, but there used to just be antennas. And just we have this long pole and then there's antenna on the top. That's how we got TV channels. And some days you come and then maybe wind has blown and the antenna is off, and so you're not getting the right frequency, and so your TV is blurry, or it's getting all those very disoriented signs. And how do you fix it? Somebody goes inside. So let's say me and Mr. Bayo, we live together. So Mr. Bayo will go to the pole and then I'll be inside and I'm watching the TV, and Mr. Bayo will turn it, like he'll turn, is he okay? And I'll shout, no, 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 turn it again. And then he'll turn the pole, and I'll say, okay, no, no, go back, go back, go back. That's it. What we're doing is we're tuning, right? We're making small tweaks and adjustments until we hit a perfect picture, right? That's the whole idea behind performance tuning is small tweaks. Oh, okay, how do we enhance performance? What small adjustments? Because you're not trying to overhaul the entire process that is running, but you're making small tweaks, you're making small adjustments. That's the whole concept behind performance tuning, right? It's one of the more popular concepts in database administration is performance. Why is performance a big deal? Because of the customers, right? Customer experience is people want to go in and get done what they want. I don't want to go on Amazon and then I type in I want to buy a black shoe, and then I see that blue circle and it's just gonna, I know my computer is fine and my internet is good, right? But it gives you, all the circle, and then it takes you 3 minutes for it to pull up your results. That's not a good user experience. So when we talk about performance and performance tuning, that's where it comes in. We want to make sure that when customers are going online to do a transaction, when they are trying to access their data, it's a seamless experience. And when it's not, we go in and we tune and make sure it's optimized. Optimized meaning giving you the best, most optimal performance, or giving the best results. So that's a critical part of what we do. And then we talk about data transformation and loading. How many of us you've gone online, you're trying to do something, and then you see a pop-up that tells you this website uses cookies and and then make you accept. When you say yes, which you have to sometimes, what you're doing is you've allowed them to they're tracking your information. That's just data scraping. Now, they're not necessarily tracking your information, like private information, any of those things, but whatever you were doing on that website, let's say you went shopping for a bag or something, they've captured that behavior now. They've captured, that, okay, this is what you're looking for. Every time you're online, this is what things that you're interested in. And so you would notice that now every time you go online, you start seeing things you're interested in. Because I'm not going to show you ads for phones when you never come online to look for phones. But I know whenever you come, you're looking for shoes. Whenever you're coming, you're looking for somewhere shopping. So when there's a new shopping thing, I'll show it to you, right? how does that work? There again, it's all of the cookies, it's just basically capturing your data and then storing it in a data warehouse. So we have this concept of data warehouse, and it's just unorganized data. I'm just capturing everything, right? It's data scraping. And then when I get all of this volume of information, so there's this will be another conversation on that day. I can't get into the difference between transactional data and analytical data. But when we're talking, they get all of this volume of it. So it's a lot of information. Imagine all the users of Google and all the people searching online and going, and all this data, this website uses cookies and it's capturing all of this information. It's it's a lot of volume that needs to be stored somewhere. Now, a lot of the data is going to be ridiculously useless, maybe not useful information for, and so that data is raw, needs to be transformed. It's the extract and then the data transformation, and then it's now put into the right, you know, databases. It's sorted and put organized properly to where it can be used for BI purposes, reporting, so that's the whole ETL. You hear people talking about ETL, extract, transform, load. That's really, it's basically the process of taking raw, unformatted, unorganized data and then transforming it into where it makes sense and then storing it in an organized way in databases. And then now businesses have information to make business intelligence decisions. And so companies will pay, but that's why you see all this, don't sell my data, don't sell my information, prompts. That's because legally now they are required to show you those prompts. But before it wasn't. So if I sell shoes, for example, I can go pay Apple and say, hey, send me information for all the people who are looking for shoes, who have shopping apps on their phone, and I'll pay a ton of money to Apple. And now I know you're looking for shoes, and you're wondering, how did they know what I'm looking for? How do they know I'm looking? It's because somebody has paid to know those information and they use that to market to you. And you see often over and over again, the people wonder, oh, well, I just said this thing and I didn't even search for it online. Well, your phone is an audio device. It's also capturing data. And so all of this data is everything. So when people are worried about their privacy, I remember I'm like, oh, sorry, we're already sold. No need to worry. just just hope nobody needs to use that against you that is powerful enough. It's out, right? It's all of those, it's all of those things. So it's how will I put it? So that's it, we get the end of that information, and then we're able to use that to make business intelligence decisions. You see, election. I use example a lot because elections just concluded. But you see, oh, this candidate is not campaigning here. This is a battleground state. This is a red state, a blue state. Those numbers didn't come out of nowhere. Although it's data. They've done polls, they've done analysis, they've seen their interests. They know no matter how much I campaign here, I'm not going to win. So why go? So you're angry, oh, Kamala didn't go to this state or Trump didn't go here. They know it's not worth it. It's data-driven decisions. It's not whether we like the people there or not. The places they went to, it's that it's a product of data. So all of this is data and databases. It's used every day. And lastly, when it comes to the roles and responsibilities, is reporting. Reporting, you see a lot of reports now. Businesses use reports. They want reports on how much sales we did last year and how much, who are our demographics, all of that, generate that reports and use that to do business. Those fall under, the roles and responsibilities of a database administrator. All right. I'm going to stop here. Maybe we'll continue along these lines next time. But I hope you found this useful. I will take any questions that anyone has.
You guys, please give it up for Dr. Nnamdi. That was great. Thank you so much. As he said, please, if you have any questions, you can raise your hand and unmute yourself. I do see some in the chat. I see a question that asks, is any of these data scraping available?
Yeah, so they are, but they're not available to us. It's we don't just go and buy it in an app store or there are organizations there are businesses that have access to these tools, and those are the ones, you would have to research on, and um, that manage all of this processing. Most of the bigger companies, the Microsofts, the uh, um, Red Hats, all of those type companies, they all use data scraping as a methodology for gathering data. But yeah, we don't. But no, regular humans can't just go and
Oh,
uh,
I think they meant inevitable. Sorry.
oh yeah, you can't stop it because there's so much money involved. Um, and businesses will not fly blind when there's so much data that they can gather. So I'm not going to, these companies are investing hundreds of millions and billions in advertisement and promotion. They want every dollar they spend to bring back $2, right? And so I won't just throw money and advertise and hope that somebody, no. What if I can spend a little more money and get exactly who needs my product and advertise it to them? It will save me. So it's the money in it is too much to be, yeah. Maybe you can always be careful with, asking the app not to track and do those type of things. Maybe reject cookies where you see those options. But you don't always get presented those options as a user. Sometimes you just have to accept cookies before you even move forward. So, yeah. Difference between a database administrator and a data analyst. So the administrator is more, think about the administrator as someone who is part of the daily operations. Um, Keeping the database infrastructure up, right? So a database administrator is not just is involved in the day-to-day, making sure performance is up, that customers, when customers interact with the business, they have a seamless experience, right? You send money on Zelle, it gets there immediately. That's because the database administrator has set things up. They have to be. If that doesn't work, it's us that will get called to jump on because there's an issue, right? The data analyst is more on they're more on the, what would I call it, translating data to the business. They are closer to, they are more technical forms of project managers in a sense. They translate data. They're more data specific. They're between the business and the technical aspect because they are translating the data. They understand the technical enough to translate it to the business. And so they use different tools, Power BI. You see them doing a lot of reporting, Tableau. It's more data translation in a sense. They are analyzing the data, so they work a lot in that business intelligence realm, even though they're not using like more technical tools like SSIS or any of those. They're not doing the transformation directly. They're not doing the more hardcore transformation and loading type things, but they understand it. They're able to translate that they are more on the working with the business folks. So that's why people lean towards that because it's not as tech heavy as a power, a database, Power BI engineer, BI or BI architect or DBA, but they still work with data, they still play with the tools, they still have a good understanding of SQL or any of those platforms. So I hope that helps.
Any more questions? If no questions, can someone unmute and just express, a takeaway from this session? Oh, I see a question. Do you have to provide the training too? Is that what you were trying to ask, Joseph?
Do I do the training?
I'm sorry. The question was, do you provide those training, the database administration and the data analysis training? Do you do that at your institute?
Yeah, so I do the database administration. I don't do the data analyst one. The closest we have for data analysis is our Scrum Master program. But you can You can always message me privately and I can give you all of the information for our programs.
Okay, thank you. Like another question, like on the job market, based on your experience, which one do you think is more is is going to allow us to get job easily on the market? How?
So you want to go, my recommendation is you know how the Bible says narrow is the way that enters into heaven, but the wide road is you don't want to go where everybody's going. There's always gonna be saturation there. So and then you also want to go into and I'm careful because again I respect what all these people do, all the different aspects of tech what they do, but you have to define your goals. Let me start from there when it comes to what you want to do in the short term and in the long term, right? Some people just want to go in, make some money, get out. I don't really care about this. I'm building a house in the village. I just want to do something that pays me well so I can finish my, if that's the goal, then it's different for someone who's looking for a long career. I want to get into tech. I'm really passionate about this. I'm really passionate about data. I want to really explore a career in this field. Long-term career, database administration, the initial learning process or learning curve might be a bit more steep if you're trying to get into database administration, right? Most good DBA programs are upwards of like 8 weeks to 12 weeks, right? Some you'll see people do 6 months database engineering programs where it's a bit more complex. I would not recommend that for somebody who's just starting, who just wants to get in because they are going really deep and it might not be. If you're coming from a non-technical background, then just making that jump might be too intense. So a shorter term, just focus on database administration, SQL. Get in is a more feasible route to take, 10 weeks, and then in a couple of months you get a job. That's the route. But that's if you're looking for, a career, because database administration, the career part will not go away. But the data analysis, those are you see more 1 month. You learn it, you go in. The problem is some people do that and then they're not able to get a job. Some people do it and they get jobs. So there's opportunities in both places. But it now comes to there's more saturation in the analyst space because more people there's more demand than there is supply. Right? There's more people looking to get in than there is people who are um and then companies are getting more and more picky because they have a pool to choose from. But you can't go wrong going into data. There's always going to be opportunities coming up. Now, if you want to get into any of these fields, then the key is really becoming super proficient so that when anybody speaks to you, they can tell you apart from the people who are just trying to backdoor their way in. It's really becoming proficient and really solid and really good in the technology or the path of your choice. It will open up doors more than anything else. It's becoming really good.
Okay, thank you. Can we please have your number in the chat so we can reach out to you privately as needed?
Sure, I will drop it. And if you're on the AIM WhatsApp group as well, I'm sending messages all the time. So you should have my number, but I'm dropping it in the chat. So send me a message on WhatsApp and
All right, that was awesome. Again, please give it up for Dr. Nnamdi. That was a great session. We have now come to the end of this session. Thank you all for your questions and your time. Just a few announcements. The 15th of February, we have Attorney Uzo who'll be giving a session regarding immigration. So please, if you have any interest regarding immigration, what's next, now that we have a new president in office, please, please, please join us. The session link will be provided closer to the time, okay? Also, don't forget that this coming March, we have our women's conference. It's going to be incredible, which will be led by Stella, hosted by me. So if you know any powerful women out there who are achieving great things in the community, and also you want to hear from, other beautiful African women that are achieving great things in the community and also facing challenges. Please join us on March 15th at 10 a.m. to 2 o'clock p.m. for our virtual women's conference. Okay. I put below ways that you can join our community platform called Circle. Also, Nnamdi has a QR code right behind his head. You can put your phone and join from there as well. You know, just to continue the conversation, network, and engage with other people like yourself, other professionals like yourself. Please join us on Circle. We also have other platforms such as LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook, where you can keep up with everything that we're doing. If you're interested in becoming an expert, so you see, as Nnamdi has led a session in his respective field, if you feel like you have any resources to offer, you know, people in the community, please sign up to become an expert. I put the link for the application below in the chat as well. And we hope we can have more people come on board and offer great services such as Nnamdi. Nnamdi, is there anything else that I'm missing?
No, that's it. Just tell folks about us. We're here every Saturday, so
Mhm.
doing expert series, and definitely join us on Circle, like Ngozi said, so you can keep up with all the expert series we do on our mixers at the end of the month. Those are always fun, so you can connect with other people. But yeah, that's it.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, that's all.